Morning from the Pacific Northwest of how I arrived at where I am, and with the help of a huge brain trust I've gotten here. I finished my first PhD in 1974 at the University of Southern California. I was hired and I had been working as a research assistant in a department of human behavior, which is part of the USC School of Medicine. Excuse me. I did lectures to year one and year two medical students. I had a joint appointment to human behavior. Now, human behavior was an integration of behavioral sciences into the medical curriculum, I think we were the second department in the country. You'll find that throughout now. It's a part of psychiatry, and human behavior after I left the university was subsequently absorbed by psychiatry. So I had an appointment to both rehabilitation medicine, which I'd worked in as a research assistant, and human behavior. My goal in all of that was measurement systems, how to measure compliance in patients in occupational therapy, physical therapy, and I worked a lot in pediatrics and a variety of things. I won't go into all the details. Published a number of articles on what are called single subject designs, and left there. I was on a grant, left there, opened the first chronic pain and headache centers in Orange County in multiple hospitals. I worked with oncologists, orthopods, endocrinologists, neurologists, rheumatologists, you name it, we were all a group. I was the only non-physician managing partner, and we had pain centers and headache centers and neurology offices. That's part of the history. Then in late 80s, I decided I was going to branch out. I was an athlete. I wanted to go do something. I loved golf. So I semi-retired and learned you can only hit so many golf balls. That was in my mid-30s. You can only hit so many golf balls, and began to experience that absence of work, although I still owned the pain centers in those days. Met a golf professional, Derek Hardy, became his apprentice, and ultimately spoke at the first PGA Teaching Summit in Texas at the Galleria in 1988. During that time, right after that time, I was hired as a consultant at Callaway in Carlsbad. So I would go to Callaway once a month, Dr. Jim Suddy, John Redmond, Johnny Miller was around, a lot of interesting people. Dr. Suddy was a dear friend I'd met in '88 at the first PGA Teaching Summit. And he's still a dear friend to this day. We've done a lot of work together over the years. But during that time, and this is during the 90s now, mid to late 90s, I wrote my first book in the early 90s, Mind Under Par, All Mental. I became very interested in observation of grip size. And I had an apparatus physical therapist helped me build. You may have seen it in some of the old ebooks, that attached to the hips, and you could see rotation of the hips. And I began to look at handle size, grip size. That's the grip size research began in 1992. Late 90s, at Callaway, I met Dr. Michael Melman. Dr. Melman and I were assigned to a project in putting, and he had an apparatus that, actually an app, on a computer, and you had a dial, and there was a ball in the center of the screen, and it measured eye-hand coordination. It was out of a federal project. Navy SEALs used it in rough water operations, long-haul drivers, and it was to measure eye-hand coordination and concentration. It was pretty remarkable. And Dr. Melman, I think at that time, with a couple of other people, had the license on it. Todd Hollinsworth, I'll remember meeting him. Dr. Melman was internist team physician for the Dodgers. Todd Hollinsworth played center field. And we did a couple of lectures, and I wrote an article in Golf Tips magazine on this apparatus. And Todd told me that taking batting practice before and after using the system was night and day. because it basically got him very focused. It gave you a score. I think you had 3 trials. And I had it in at Pelican Hill Golf Club where I was teaching in the pro shop. And before every lesson, I would have students get on it. A cup of coffee reduced my focus by about 25 to 30%. So fascinating. And as you know, I'm very big into measurement systems and understanding what's going on. Dr. Melman and I would meet at Pelican Hill every Friday in the morning. He wouldn't take golf lessons. He would hit 15, 20 balls, and then we would talk for 2 to 3 hours. Still is a very dear friend. He had a relationship, no, let me digress, in the pain centers. I was getting referrals, we were getting referrals there from orthopedic surgeons, and one of them was Dr. Robert Watkins. Dr. Watkins is the spine surgeon to University of Southern California Athletics. I'll say again in a moment that he would tell you that 95% of back surgeries are unnecessary if you can get people to do his exercise program. We'll come back to that. Anyway, Dr. Melman had a relationship, did the physicals, as I recall, for Dr. Watkins' patients before they would have surgery or embark on this exercise program. And he was very active with the Dodgers. He was team physician as an internist to the Dodgers, the Kings, the Lakers, and the Rams. All had world championships during his participation. Pretty remarkable individual. And Dr. Melman arranged for me to have face-to-face with Dr. Watkins. I began coaching University of Southern California part-time men's and women's golf teams. I would go to a practice once a week, generally once or twice a week with each team, and then travel. And we had a player, her name was Tanya Dergal, never forget. Tanya, I think, last I heard, was teaching at LA Country Club. Now we're talking very early 2000, 2001. And in October, she herniated a disc. And after running the pain centers and seeing her and what she was going through, as I recall, she was a freshman. And I'm thinking, boy, that's a career ender for her. And Dr. Watkins was the USC orthopedic surgeon. He evaluated her and sent an exercise program back to the USC trainers, which Tanya, just very motivated, perfect example of a person who perhaps would have to have back surgery. And by the way, Bob Watkins did surgery on Tom Kite, Payne Stewart, back surgery, Tony Romo, and many, many other very top-end athletes. Tanya began this exercise the end of October, November, and she was back playing tournament golf in February. So we're October, February, that's a short time to have had a herniated disc, and she had to do this exercise program daily. It was a lengthy exercise program, but a big part of that was something called the dead bug, the dying bug. When you're on your back, if you've been with me very long, you'll remember a video I shot. All my students would do the dead bug, by the way, whether I was in a golf school or a just a individual lesson. Colin Montgomery came to see me for putting, and I had him doing the dead bug exercise. There's a funny video in the lab as he's looking up at me and saying, I don't know if this helps putting, but if it does, I'll do it. Anyway, back to the exercise. What we found with the dead bug, and showing Dr. Melman, we're still early 2000s here, was that it would square the hips, which was critical, obviously, in golf, baseball, in a lot of rotational sports. So we began to test, and Dr. Melman saw this. He brought Dr. Watkins out. We were at the top of the range at Pelican Hill, and they said, we need to do research on this. We need to get a number of subjects. So we I met subsequently Dr. Frank Jobe. Now, Dr. Frank Jobe did the Tommy John surgery. Ohtani, who pitches for the Dodgers now, had that surgery if you follow Major League Baseball. And you'll hear in watching the College World Series, this player just had Tommy John surgery, thousands of surgeries. That surgery must have been done in the 80s. And Dr. Frank Jobe has a biomechanics lab, Centinela. He had the Centinela trailer, medical trailer that would go out and follow the PGA Tour. And he had done some of the first golf research using light sensors on the body, and mostly just light sensors on the body. And he wrote a book, 30 Exercises for Golf. That book was published, I believe, in the mid-late 80s, maybe early 90s. Anyway, met with Dr. Jobe, and he has his facility at Centinela Hospital. We did the research there, and we wrote a paper. And that paper was subsequently published, but it took a couple of years because when you write a journal article, it is sent out for review. And Dr. Watkins wrote the review and talking about core. This was very important to me and beyond important now, because core in those days was defined as 4, 5, 6 muscles in the abdominal region. About 2008, I learned, somebody at the University of Washington said, no, core is the entire body. But the article was written just about this muscle group. One of the 3 reviewers was a physical therapist who said, no, this is not correct, because your results, we show the results, are not because of that. So you're allowed what's called a literary license in the discussion section. I appealed to the editor, and anyway, it was published. Subsequently learned that no, core is not just the abdominal region, but looked at it as being everything but the limbs. Arms and legs are independent of core. Now, as we have advanced forward, we found out many more new things. I mean, and I have tested exercise. That dead bug was done. I probably saw Colin Montgomery in the lab 2016, 17. We were still doing the dead bug. But during that time, I was testing other exercises. And those of you with me who are Wright Balance professionals know the latest. We're going to cover the latest today, but we're going to go much deeper than that. And what I have learned following that, we did with and without. We looked at grip size and how to hold an object and how to do these exercises. And we had 4 positions of isometric exercises, and now we've moved to 8. What you will find is that the technology you're going to learn exists nowhere else. And it basically looks at what are called planes of motion in all different positions. You'll notice I have disrupted my core today. And as you've heard me say, or you've seen too, when we did our research in the biomechanics lab, we had 1,000 sensors in each shoe. So we could look at balance. That study that was done in Dr. Jobe's lab was about balance with 1,000 sensors in each shoe and light sensors on the body. We wanted to see rotation. We were primarily looking at rotation and have subsequently begun to explore a number of other